I have so many books to talk to you guys about in today's video. I don't even know where to start. Hey everyone, it's Rose and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a wrap up of every single book I read in July. Spoiler alert, there are a lot. If you're new to this channel, this month I read 30 books in 30 days as a month-long reading challenge. I'm not going to go into too many details about each of these books because I have a whole playlist on my page full of all the reading vlogs I filmed this month, where you can see me day to day reading and reviewing these books, and you can get my more in-depth thoughts. So if there are any books that you see in this video that you want more details about, the playlist is on my channel and you'll get my thoughts more in depth over there. So I'm just gonna go through every single book in the order that I read them and let you know my rating pretty much, because if I give you too many details, this video will be hours long and I don't think any of us want that. So we started amazingly. The first book I read this month was Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney, and I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. It's such a creepy thriller and I definitely want to read more from Alice Feeney. This book has a plot twist that you will either love or hate. I personally loved it in the way that it was executed, but if it had been written a different way, I would have been on the hating side. So it all depends on how that kind of plot twist is written. I can't give anything away, so that's why I'm being very vague about it, but I definitely recommend. I loved it so much. Next up, I read The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor and I rated this one 5 stars as well. This was another amazing thriller that I read in one sitting. I could not have guessed almost all of the plot twists, and there were so many all the way through. It wasn't just a thriller that throws in a load at the end, although I do love them. This book had plot twists all throughout and I never could have guessed how it was going to end at any point through this book. Another 5-star read, another book I would definitely recommend. Then I read You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry and rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I love Emily Henry's writing so much. If you're not new to this channel, you probably know that already because I can never stop talking about how much I love Emily Henry. The reason this was 4 stars and not 5 was because the whole premise of this book is miscommunication, which I don't like as a trope in general, but I obviously understand that this book is going to have it because it's the whole point of the book. But we got to a point where I thought the miscommunication was finally over, and then something else happened and miscommunication happened again, and it was just a bit too much for me. That's the only reason it wasn't 5 stars. I really liked it and I would definitely recommend. I definitely recommend everything by Emily Henry, honestly. She is such an amazing writer. Next up, possibly my favourite. I can't narrow my favourite of the month down to one, but this is definitely one of like 4 favourites. I read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace and rated it 5 stars. Look how cute the cover is. You're not going to be able to see because of the lighting, but I tabbed some of my favourite quotes in yellow. This was ice hockey, ice skater relationship, but I loved the messages that this book deals with. I love how healthy their relationship was. There was no miscommunication, third act breakup sort of thing, and it was so good. I loved it so much and I can't wait for book 2. I need it immediately. Hannah Grace, I love you. We read so many amazing books this month. Next up was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, which I rated 4.5 stars. I love everything that Ali Hazelwood writes. I will read anything from her, and this was no exception. I loved it so much. Again, loved how healthy the relationship was, love how interesting it was and how fun it was. The only reason it was 4.5 instead of 5 stars is because this does not top Ali Hazelwood's other books. Love on the Brain and The Love Hypothesis are still my favorites, but this was so good and I would definitely recommend it as well. And I love the women in STEM that we always get from Ali Hazelwood's books. Then we have Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score, which I read and rated 3 stars. I think this is the first book by Lucy Score that I haven't rated 5 stars. I really didn't like the guy in this book, and when a book is about two main characters and you don't like one of them, it's hard to rate it highly. A lot of things he did annoyed me. The girl, Maggie, was always so upfront and honest and I loved her, and then the guy, I think his name was Silas, was just convinced the whole time that he'd be able to change her mind, and then got annoyed at her when he couldn't change her mind, even though she'd been upfront the whole time about not having her mind changed. So I rated this one 3 stars. I'd recommend Lucy Score's books, but probably not this one. Read by a thread though, so good. Then I read Beach Read and rated it 4 stars. This is by Emily Henry again. I absolutely loved it. I loved January and Gus. I love their relationship. I love the deeper topics that were explored in this book, and I would definitely recommend. The only reason it wasn't 5 stars is because Happy Place is my favourite from Emily Henry and this wasn't as good, but I still really liked it and I'd still definitely recommend. Next up, I read Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel and rated it 3 stars. This book had a really interesting premise. Unfortunately, it just hit too close to home to be any higher than 3 stars. This book is about a pandemic that wipes out 99% of the population. People just get the flu and then they die. Some of the things described in this book just got a bit too real. And I don't think it will ever be not too soon for me to read a book about a worldwide pandemic where people are describing in detail how people are dying and how we're losing access to healthcare and medicine, and it was just too much. But the writing style was beautiful and I did really enjoy it despite the topic. So 3 stars. Next up, I read Solitaire by Alice Oseman and rated it 4 stars. I love Alice Oseman's work so much. I think I've read everything they've written now. I think this was the last one I needed to read. I really enjoyed this one. I related to Tori and Michael a lot, specifically Tori. Made me feel very seen, sometimes too seen. Side note, I picked this book up from a charity shop. I did not realise it was personally signed, which is very cool, but it's not signed with my name. But I would definitely recommend, anything that Alice Oseman writes. I think my favourite is Loveless. But yeah, 4 stars. Then I read Slammed by Colleen Hoover. And I rated this one 3 stars. I rated it 3 stars because I did get through it in one sitting, as I do with a lot of Colleen Hoover's books because they're really fast paced and easy to read. However, this book was so cringy. Trying to talk about really deep topics like losing parents and death and grief, and then declaring feelings through slam poetry in front of an audience. It just doesn't mix. I couldn't. I cringed so many times reading this book. I don't know if I'm going to read the next ones because this story's kind of finished for me. I'm not interested enough to read This Girl and Point of Retreat, which are the next books in the series, I believe. So I don't think I'll be continuing, but 3 points because it was very easy to read. Did I just say 3 points? 3 stars. Next up, I read The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston and rated it 3.5 stars. The premise of this book was really interesting. A ghostwriter falls in love with a ghost. Unfortunately, the first half was quite boring and slow, but the second half really made this book for me and saved it. The topics on grief, love and loss and the different ways you can look at death and the ways that people can be celebrated in death were really beautiful, and I loved how this book ended. I'm very happy at how it ended because I was starting to lose hope that these characters would get a happy ending, but they got one anyway. 3.5 stars. Then I read For, a Divergent Collection by Veronica Roth and rated it 3 stars. This is a collection of short stories from the Divergent series from For's perspective. Yes, that's a character's name, not just the name of the book. I rated this 3 stars because it was interesting to see his perspective and see him growing up before the Divergent books and get his point of view from some things that happened during the Divergent books. However, I'm too removed from this world to rate it higher than 3 stars because I took too long reading this book and it's very hard to get back into a story when you're just reading short stories. I'd recommend you read it if you've just read the Divergent series or if you're planning a reread. I wouldn't just read it randomly. And another one of my favourite reads of the month and possibly of the year. I finally caved and started the Addicted series. I read Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie and rated it 5 stars. I've wanted to read these books for over 2 years, but I was always too nervous from the hype. And then I finally bought the first few books in the traditionally published versions. And they're coming out like one book every 2 months. So I didn't want to read them because I wanted to wait until I had all the books, but I'm not waiting until 2024. I'm just going to read them on my Kindle. I finally caved and I'm so glad I did because I absolutely love this book and I cannot wait to continue this series. In fact, as soon as I'm done with the Twisted series, spoiler alert, I read that in July, I'm going straight into continuing the Addicted series. 5 stars, definitely recommend. It deals with very dark topics, so please check trigger warnings. Honestly, check trigger warnings for a lot of the books in here. As always, my story graph is linked below where I put all the trigger warnings. But if you don't want to see them from me, just see them from someone, especially this book. Next up, I read Ricochet, the second book in the Addicted series, and I rated it 5 stars as well. I can't wait to read more about these characters. I love them so much already, and I'm only 2 books in. There are like 10 books in the Addicted Calloway series, and then there's a spin-off of their kids that are like 13 books deep right now, so I'm never going to be starved of content for these amazing characters. I can't wait to read Addicted for Now, I think is the next one. I have it on my shelf waiting for me. 5 stars, absolutely loved it. Then I read Liespace Into the Sea by Sarah Underwood and rated it 5 stars. Let's show a little commotion for the absolute beauty that is this Illumicrate edition. It was gorgeous. This was a Greek mythology retelling. Can't believe no one told me it was sapphic. I'm so happy I learnt that though, because this book was absolutely amazing, heartbreaking, wonderful. I'm pretty sure I cried on camera about it, so if you want to see that, it's one of my most recent videos. 5 stars, I would absolutely recommend. And this book is going to look so gorgeous on my shelf. No! I knew I was pushing it with the Addicted books. And I read Conviction by Jack Jordan, which was so kindly sent to me by Tandem Collective, and I rated it 4 stars. I absolutely love Jack Jordan's writing, and this was another amazing book by him. This was a legal thriller and it was really interesting. The only reason it wasn't 5 stars is because I did guess a few of the plot twists, but I don't know whether that's because it was predictable or because I just know Jack Jordan's writing style, because I have read other books by him. But I really enjoyed it and I would definitely recommend. I read More Perfect by Temi O, which was so kindly also sent to me by Tandem Collective. Love you guys. And I rated this 4 stars. This was a sci-fi dystopian about basically having the internet and oh my god, why am I blanking on the word? Just electronics implanted into your brain and being able to kind of like go online in real life. And the government are trying to make it mandatory, and there are people that are fighting back against it. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely heartbreaking. I'll still cry if I think about the ending for too long, so we're going to move on, but I definitely recommend. Please check trigger warnings. Speaking of books I'm going to cry about, I finally, I think I'm the last person to read it, but I read The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I rated this 4 stars. Broke my heart, another book I sobbed on the internet about. There's a lot of that on my channel. But I rated it 4 stars because this book was written in, I think, 2012, and you can tell by some of the cringy dialogue. I mean, it's YA. I'm no way faulting how it was written, but I did cringe. So that's the only reason it wasn't 5 stars, but please check trigger warnings. This is about terminally ill kids falling in love. Do I need to say any more? It was sad. 4 stars. I reread The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. This was one of the first books that I read when I got back into reading. It's a crazy messed up thriller, and I rated it 5 stars the first and second time round. I absolutely loved this book. It's so messed up though. But maybe some of that writing is based on how nostalgic I felt when I was reading it, because it was giving me the same feelings I got when I read it the first time round and was getting back into reading again but I really liked it and I definitely recommend. Check trigger warnings. I read that book so I could read the sequel, The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell, which I ended up rating 4 stars. It was a really good continuation. I really liked it, but nothing will top the original book for me, and that's why it's not 5 stars. Crazy thriller, Shrek plot twist, can't tell you anymore because not only is it a thriller and telling you anything would spoil things, it's also the second book. So I can't tell you anything or I'll spoil the first book, but really good. 10 books left to go. Next, I read Cersei by Madeline Miller and rated it 4 stars. This is Greek mythology about Cersei. I really enjoyed it. Madeline Miller's writing is absolutely beautiful and she is going to become one of my new auto-buy authors, honestly, because I loved this book. The only reason it wasn't 5 stars is because I did love The Song of Achilles more by her, but I really enjoyed this one as well. 4 stars. And I'm pretty sure this one was really sad as well. I read a lot of sad books this month. I read The Dead Zone by Stephen King and rated it at 5 stars. This is one of the copies I have. I have multiple copies of a lot of Stephen King books because if you're new to this channel, I love Stephen King. This book was amazing. I definitely recommend it. I'd recommend it if you want to get into Stephen King too, because it's not too long and it kept me hooked the whole way. This is a thriller, kind of, but Stephen King writes a lot of horror. It's about a guy who gets into a car accident and wakes up with a type of brain damage that means he can see into the future when he touches people or things, and it was so good. There's also a side plot of a serial killer. Very dark, very disturbing, very good. Unfortunately, I read How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie and I rated it 1 star. This is the second book I rated 1 star this year out of like 170, and this is the second one, so that really says a lot about this book. I have stated my opinions on this book a lot, especially in my latest video. Didn't like anything about it. The premise was so good. I killed my whole family, but I'm in prison for the one murder I didn't actually commit. Sounds amazing, right? The execution completely ruined it. It was so boring to me. I would have DNF'd it and I wanted to so many times, but it would have meant that I'd have to pick up a whole new book and read it in one day. And that's the only reason I didn't DNF it. I would have if it wasn't for this video. 1 star. Unfortunately, cannot recommend this book. I think it gets better, but no. I read Graceling by Kristen Cashore and rated this one 1 star as well. This has been on my TBR for years. I'd seen a lot of mixed reviews, so I kept putting it off. And unfortunately, I was one of the people that did not like this book. I feel like nothing really happened. I was confused, and then when I understood what was going on, I was bored, and I was confused again. Needless to say, I will not be continuing with this series. I'm sure it's for some people, but it's not for me. I will say the last book put me in a reading slump, so maybe this book would have been like 2 stars if I wasn't in a slump. But I just had no desire to pick this book up, and I was only doing it through sheer force of will to not fail this challenge. We saved the day though, because this book saved the video for me. I read Twisted Love by Anna Huang and rated it 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this book and it's made me so excited to read the rest of the books in the series. I actually read Twisted Games in this video too, so you're going to see me talk about that in a minute. But I really liked it. This was I think it's labelled as dark romance. There's a romance and both the characters go through a lot of dark things. So I guess, yeah, dark romance. Please check trigger warnings. A lot of trauma bonding happens in this book, basically. But it was absolutely amazing. 5 stars. Then, for some reason, I thought I could read a 600-page book with writing that small in one day. And I did it. Bloodmarked by Tracy Dion. I read this and rated it 3.5 stars. This is the second book in the Legendborn cycle. I think I like Legendborn a bit more because I rated that one 4 stars. I really did like this book. The writing is gorgeous. It just got very confusing and was very long. But like I said, I was kind of in a slump. So I think if I would have picked this up at a time when I didn't have to try and cram this book into one day, I would have rated it higher. So it's nothing against the author. And I think I'm going to reread Legendborn and this book at another time because I think I will appreciate it a lot more when I'm not doing a challenge. 3.5 stars. I would definitely recommend this series. Maybe if you're a bit smart than me, because I did get confused a lot in Legendborn and Bloodmarked. I read The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake and I rated this one 4 stars. This was a book that I was so scared I was not going to be smart enough to understand, and I impressed myself because I understood a lot of it. I absolutely love this. I need book 2 immediately. I'm gonna be buying it soon. No, there's gonna be a book haul video coming soon because I got like 20 books just this month. I didn't show all of them on camera, so I'm gonna have to film a separate video. Anyway, 4 stars. I really, really loved it. The only reason it wasn't 5 stars is because the ending. A lot started happening and I couldn't quite keep up. I did get quite confused. But I did really like it and I would really recommend. Then the slump was really getting to me and I was a couple of days behind and I needed to read 3 books in 24 hours. So we read some pretty short books. I read The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn and rated it 5 out of 5 stars. This was 80 pages of what just happened and I was here for every single moment of it. It's crazy, it's messed up, it doesn't really make sense, but I loved it so much. I love books like that. 5 stars. And I read Elevation by Stephen King and rated this one 4 stars. This is a short story about a man who keeps losing weight no matter what he does. He stays the same shape physically, but his mass gets less and less and less. And it was really cute, actually. I enjoyed reading a Stephen King book that wasn't 1,000 pages long. I really liked it and I would recommend. 4 stars. We ended the month off with such an amazing book. It was 5 stars and that book is Twisted Games by Anna Huang. This is the second book in the Twisted series. I absolutely love Bridget and Reese separately and together. Some of the quotes in this book were absolutely amazing. If you follow me on Goodreads, I'll make them visible so you can see just how amazing this book is. I loved it. I'd recommend it so much. Check your warnings. And it was really good. 5 stars. That is everything I read this month. I'm done. I'm done with this challenge. I can give myself a couple days off of reading because honestly, the slump's hitting. I need to give myself a couple days to recover because I don't want to burn myself out completely. That's everything I read in July. And like I said, if you want to see my thoughts more in depth, I have a playlist called 30 Books in 30 Days on my channel. But it's also the last 3 videos I uploaded were 3 reading vlogs where I read 10 days worth of books in each vlog. And I think that's everything. Let me know if there are any more challenges you want me to take part in because clearly I'm not afraid of a crazy challenge. So please do let me know in the comments. If you'd like to see more from me, please be sure to like and subscribe because I post new videos every single Monday. I hope you have a lovely day and I'll see you in another video. Bye!